Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Messmer's flame. Kneel evermore before the flame of Messmer. stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Mesmer's flame. Spurned by grace, kneel evermore before the flame of Mesmer. The grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Mesmer's flame. Kneel evermore before the flame of Mesmer. In the embrace of Mesmer's flame. Mesmer's flame.
Hey all, it's Matt, your average gamer, and for this video we're going to be covering 5 of the most powerful early weapons in DLC. This is going to be a great video for information. It's going to have Rolana's blades in it as well. I have 2 different builds for her blades. This is going to be a great one. Once again, I'm going to be taking some of the weapons back to the Lands Between, and the reason I'm doing that is
Hello and welcome at last to Shadow of the Erdtree. The DLC is out and people are finally diving in. But thanks to Bandai and FromSoft, we've been able to play a little early. With that, I wanted to make a quick guide on how to get strong in this DLC and fast because it is very hard. Naturally, this is going to be a bit different to a new character and a new playthrough, though. By the time you start this DLC, you're going to be close to level 150 with a fully upgraded weapon and a build you're happy with. So, this is how to transition into the DLC with a strong setup to create a new build, should you want to, maybe from the 100+ new weapons that are in there. A quick guide to how to reach level 5 for your Shadow Realm Blessing. I'll also show you the exact location of a bunch of new weapon types, where to get an easy lava tier to prep a respec with that in mind. Even this new armor set, the one I'm wearing right now, and all of this is going to be story spoiler free to avoid showing you anything major. In fact, I'll be avoiding zooming out on my map to avoid showing you anything more than the first map fragment that we all start with, so you can rest easy. So let's get started. Let's start this with a quick overview of the level 5 blessings, both sides of that coin. When you go to Grace, you can see the new option of Shadow Realm Blessing, and here you can see the current levels that you have. You see how I have level 5 on Scatter Tree Blessing, but also level 5 on Revered Spirit Ash Blessing. To start this, you're just going to need one Scatter Tree fragment to empower it, but as you can see, it scales to 2. And this happens as well with the Spirit Ash Blessings, where at this point I need 3 of the Spirit Ashes to empower the next blessing. If you're worried that it's going to be permanent and you don't want to make things too easy, don't. It's our understanding that you can get 20 levels of these blessings, and 5 is far from what you'll be expected to need. So to open the game in the first area with 5 levels, make it all smoother, I think that's fine. So here are the locations. We begin the game at the Gravesite Plain. The fastest way to get your first view is actually not to go north as you might expect, but to go east to the Church of Consolation. When you step in here, you're going to find not 1, but 2 fragments to get you started, which is really nice. After that, we can head north through the Scorched Ruins and bring ourselves to the first Mikula Cross. We'll find a couple of NPCs and another fragment to get going. At this point, you can head west and go through the passage that leads uphill. You will find the next cross that easy and another NPC will be found. Again, at this cross, like most crosses, you'll find another fragment. Now, instead of progressing up into the actual Bellarat Keep, you're going to turn around and head south along the edge of the cliff here that, as you can see, will slowly lead up, revealing a plateau above the starting area. At the entrance, you'll find this grace, the Cliff Road Terminus, and by heading southwest, you will find our next fragment, which is just west of an area called the Prospect Town. Okay, with those fragments achieved, let's go back to the first cross again. This time, we're going to go northeast and cross over this massive Great Bridge. And on the other side, we're going to find this camp with a grace in the center of it called Castle Front. Just next to that grace, you'll also find a statue of Marika, which, yep, has the next fragment at it. Next, we're going to head into the keep and work our way through it. Roughly halfway through the keep, you're going to find another Mikula Cross and therefore another fragment. Okay. The keep, you're going to find another Mikula Cross and therefore another fragment. Okay, we just got one more fragment to get. So from the castle front, we're going to head up this path leading higher and higher to the southeast. But almost as we continue up the hill, we're going to branch off just around this to the side. We're going to find a hidden cross and another NPC and another fragment. With that, you'll have 8 total fragments, which is the exact number that you're going to need to get to level 5 on your Scatter Tree Blessing. Next up then for you Shadow Realm Blessing, we obviously have the Revered Spirit Ash Blessings at level 5. You actually need less of these to start with, but you can see how it begins to scale to need 3 to empower at level 5, so it does start to get expensive. From the starting point of the Gravesite Plains, the first grace, once again, we're going to head just northeast, just east of the Scorched Ruins. On this cliff edge, you're going to find this first mysterious statue where you kind of find these ashes in general. So that's our first one. You can get the first upgrade like that. Next, we're going to head northwest to the first cross, which leads us a little bit north to the Great Bridge North Grace. Here, we're in front of a town called the Abandoned Ailing Village. And if you pass through this on the east side, just down on a little plateau, you will find the next Ash Blessing. With that, let's return again to the free path cross and work our way west to Bellarat. Going up and opening the door, in the very first room that you enter, you'll see a very hard to miss statue with more ashes here. In this case, there should be 2. The next one, though, is further into Bellarat. As you progress through this area, you'll find yourself climbing higher and higher and higher. just before you come to the stage front grace, you will find a tree, and around the back, kind of looking back over the area you've just kind of climbed up, there'll be another statue, another ash to grab. Interestingly, while you're up here right before the stage front and you've just picked up this ash blessing, it's important to know that there's a bridge just to the east as you pass through here. There's this specific enemy, a strange guy that holds a pot over his head. And upon killing him, I actually got, one of the blessings. So you want to make sure you kill him as well. It's my understanding that there's multiple kinds of these pot wielding guys, and potentially they could even drop scattered tree fragments. So if you ever see a guy holding a pot over his head and casting spells and running away, hunt him down and kill him, you might just get something very valuable. Now let's return to the main gate cross, which is just outside of Ballarat. And this time again, we're going to follow this kind of cliff edge that leads up, eventually leading to the Cliff Road Terminus Grace. And just to the east, you've got this kind of pond. And right next to that, we have another statue to grab another ash. Finally, we have one more ash location in the first map fragment that I want to show you, and it's this one here. And it's deceptive because for some reason there isn't an underground filter at this time. The reality of this grace here, Alec River Cave, is that it's underground. It's hard for me to show you that with the way that the map's currently working. Fortunately, obviously, I know the route. To get down there, what you actually want to do is come to the Castle Front Grace and head along the road east. Right as you're about to continue uphill, you turn more east to look over at the cliff edge. You'll even see this guy just sort of standing there looking down to highlight, oh, there's something going on over here. What you'll find is a kind of a slow, awkward path down to the water below, where if you head southwest, you'll see a cave entrance behind one of those flowers. Pass through the cave, and eventually you will come to the Elec River Cave Grace, which obviously on your way right before the Grace, you will find that last ash that we're looking for. And with that, you should have the total amount that we need to upgrade the Shadow Realm Blessing for your Spirit Ashes to level 5. So level 5 in both in the first map fragment, not too bad. Right, so the next topic I want to quickly cover is the idea of upgrade materials, of which you're going to need many. Let's say you come into the DLC with a fully upgraded weapon, and now you found something that you want to use instead. There are 2 locations where you can instantly get these max level upgrade stones. So from the 3-path cross, we're going to head northwest to this little lake where I put this diamond symbol. In the center here, you're going to find this kind of undead dragon, a necromancer dragon, in fact. This is going to be a theme. You're going to find a bunch of these around the DLC, and every time you kill them, they seem to reward some great rewards, as well as a plus 10 upgrade or max level upgrade. So they're always worth killing when you encounter them, and the first one is right here in that lake. Next, in the starting area, if we come to the Castle Front Grace and head southeast, but instead of going up the road, we go off the road and follow down here, you're going to quickly find this entrance here, the Ruined Forge Lava Intake, which, as you progress through, you're going to find tons of pick-upable rocks for, upgrade parts. And by completing the Ruined Forge Lava Intake, at the very end at the altar hidden above where you came in, is another max level upgrade material. So you'll find the dragons and you'll find the forges, and both are going to be great resources for upgrade materials if you want to try a bunch of new weapons at once. Next, you might be interested in the armor set that I'm wearing. This is another thing we can get in the starter area. It's called the Oath Seeker Knight armor, and it's kind of comparable in weight to, say, the Raging Wolf armor. It looks incredible. It's black with the gold embellished to, say, the Raging of the Oath. Interested in the armor set that I'm wearing. This is another thing we can get in the starter area. It's called the Oath Seeker Knight armor, and it's kind of comparable in weight to, say, the Raging Wolf armor. It looks incredible. It's black with the gold embellishments, and you get the full set and even a weapon when you pick it up. To find it, we're going to again start from the 3-path cross and pass through on our way up to Ballarat. Instead of going up there, though, again, we're going to follow that cliff edge around that leads up to this grace, the Cliff Road Terminus. Then we're going to make our way southeast until we come around to this pathway that leads down on the edge here to this church. You'll fight some enemies as you do this, but on the other side of the Church of Benediction, at the edge of the cliff, right over where we spawned into the DLC, is a body with the full armor set and a weapon, which is the Pater Fist weapon. Just like that, you've got the full armor set. It looks incredible. You can run it if you want it. But also, while you're here, the Church of Benediction, there's a talisman, the Blessed Blue Dew Talisman, which when you equip it, will slowly recover FP passively. So if you spent some FP on a spell or ashes or whatever, and you know that you're not going to use FP for at least, 30 seconds, you could pop this talisman on and recover your FP very casually, ready for the next fight when you take it off and put a whatever talisman you actually want back on. Having a tool like that, it's just useful. Next, we got to talk about the larval tiers, which are back and are a very limited respec item. And this is a new one for the DLC specifically, as you can see. I found 3 in the starting or opening areas, but to keep it to the first map tile specifically, I can show you one exact location to get you a free respec, maybe when you find a new weapon and want to reset. So again, we're going to come from the 3-path cross, go across that cliff, or just teleport to the Cliff Road terminus by now. Where it is southwest of this, on this hill just east of the Prospect Town. You can even see it from up there. Right next to an NPC called Brood, you will find this kind of blue glowing circle of coffins, and in the center will be the larval tier. So there's an easy respec in the first map fragment. Speaking of weapon types, you might be interested in the new ones like Milady, the Light Greatsword, or the Throwing Blades. There is 6 locations in the first map fragment where we can find these new weapon types. So, starting from the Scorched Ruins, which is just northeast of the Gravesite Plains, we're going to head northeast to this building here, where we find the Backhand Blade. Easy. Next, from the starting position of the Gravesite Plain, we're going to head southeast into this wooded forest. Somewhere in the center of that is a wandering naked NPC who will attack you on sight. He has the Beast Claws weapon type, so if you defeat him, you'll get your first ones. Next, for the Great Katana, we're going to head north from the Gravesite Plains all the way again to where I told you about that dragon in the lake. On the ground is a just kind of normal item drop. It doesn't seem special. Is your first Great Katana, straight up. Next, from the 3-path cross, we're going to find the perfume bottle. So head across the bridge and bring yourself to the castle front. Here on this hill is the perfume bottles just waiting to be picked up. Also, we can get the light greatsword here. By crossing the bridge from the castle front towards the castle and working your way uphill, you're going to double back into this large building and climb the tower at the back. At the top of this tower is Milady, our first light greatsword. Lastly, for a weapon type we can easily get in the starting area from the castle front, head southeast, making your way to this cave entrance, the Ruined Forge lava intake. Follow this through all the way to the bottom, and you'll find this stone golem defending an item, which is indeed your first throwing dagger to use. So just like that, 6 of the new weapon types available, in the first map fragment. Now, if you want to explore the next map fragments, but don't want to take on the major boss of Castle Ensis, maybe it's just hard or you just don't want to do it right now, there is an alternative way to get to the second area very easily. From the castle front, you can head just east and head down like I showed you before. And instead of going through the water and underground, you can progress on, heading instead southeast along the cliff edge. Eventually around here, you're going to find a spirit spring that's not active. Follow that around. On just a level above that is this little stone platform that's kind of blocking the wind. You break that, and then that spirit spring will activate. When we use that, we can climb up higher and higher until we come up to the fort of Reprimand and a new region and a new map fragment to explore. I believe this is the second map fragment they want you to explore in terms of progression, and you can come here immediately if you want to. But yeah, there you have it. My quick overview of the first map fragment, the first location we start in the DLC, and a bunch of great stuff to make you stronger, make things easier, and hopefully useful information. If you guys have any extra advice or anything you found that you think will be useful to people, let us know in the comments. But until next time, there'll be lots of Shadow of the Erdtree coverage coming in the following days. So I've been Hollow.
Every dog deserves to shine. And with ProPlan's proven advanced nutrition,
this is the Death Knight slash Paladin build in Shadow of the Erdtree. It's amazing. It does everything. It has a lot of stagger. It has a lot of damage. It makes use of some of the best new gear in the DLC. And best of all, it's kind of immortal if you build it properly. So let's get started with a quick build overview because this makes use of 2 very awesome new DLC weapons. One is the Great Sword of Solitude, while the other is the Black Steel Great Hammer. So both of them achieve somewhat the same thing, which is huge stagger and huge damage. However, they do so in slightly different ways. So in the case of the Great Sword, we have the Solitary Moonslash skill, which both unleashes a projectile attack, which is, I believe, what makes this weapon unique in the game. It's probably the only strength weapon, pure strength weapon, that doesn't need any faith or intelligence to unleash a magical attack. And the follow-up on it is absolutely stunning, no pun intended. It literally stuns enemies and throws them back so easily. And then we have the Great Hammer, which comes with a lot of damage amplification if you have holy imbuements on it, hence why I put it
Wow, I want every.
Shadow of the Erd Tree is finally here, and when you get to the Shadow Realm, there's a completely different power scaling system in the game. And today I'm going to be showing you how to increase your power level in the Shadow Realm without having to fight any bosses in the game, and no spoilers whatsoever. This revolves around getting these Scadu Tree fragments, which is going to increase your attack power and defensive stats in the Shadow Realm. Now you'll notice that when you go into your statuses, you now have these yellow stats. These are the stats of your power levels within the Shadow Realm. This is a really interesting way that they've allowed you to get a whole bunch of new things in this area that won't become too powerful outside of the realm. So you really can't be over-leveled or under-leveled for this zone, because these Scadu Tree fragments really do dictate the power level that you have within this area. So you see right now that our Ray armament has 801 power, and if we rest at the Site of Grace and use our Shadow Realm Blessing to use 2 more of these Scadu Tree fragments, we then go from 801 to 834, and all of our other stats increase as well. It's very similar to how you upgraded your flasks in the original game. You collect these objects, and then you go to a Site of Grace, where you will then be able to use your Shadow Realm Blessings. You need Scadu Tree fragments to be able to do this, and Revered Spirit Ash Blessings to increase the strength and defense of your Spirit Ashes. Now, the first time you go to use this, you only need 1 Scadu Tree fragment. Everyone after that is going to require 2 of them. It is very important that you collect these. Otherwise, you're going to have a very bad time in the Shadow Realm. So we're going to be starting from the initial Site of Grace that you get to once you zone in, and you can hop onto your horse here. And if we head directly down this way, we want to go down this path and then over to this location right here called the Church of Consolation. I would also recommend picking up the map, which you can find in this area right here. Now, if you head south and down this path, and you can hop onto your horse from the initial Site of Grace that you get to once you zone in, and you can hop onto your horse here. And if we head directly down this way, we want to go down this path and then over to this location right here called the Church of Consolation. I would also recommend picking up the map, which you can find in this area right here. Now, if you head south and down this way, it's really not that far. All you need to do is just follow this road, and at the very end of this road, you're going to find a church here, and if you just run inside of it, in front of this headless statue is going to be 2 Scadu Tree fragments. Now, from here, what you can do is you can go back to the Gravesite Plains Site of Grace, hop back on your horse, and we're going to run directly past the streets where I have that little blue icon over there. At this statue, right next to the waterfall, is where you're going to get your first Spirit Ash Blessing. There's actually 1 hidden Scadu Tree fragment that you can find here as well. If you go from this location, you kind of go around the edge of where this town is, you can go over here. And I found this completely on accident near where all these steps are. There's actually going to be a group of enemies that spawn in this location. And this one with a pot right here, if you kill it, will actually drop a Scadu Tree fragment for you. There's actually going to be a group, and you kind of go around hidden Scadu Tree fragment that you can find here. First Spirit Ash Blessing. There's actually 1 hidden Scadu Tree fragment that you can find here as well. If you go from this location, you kind of go around, and we're going to, in front of this headless statue is going to be 2 hop back on your horse, and we're going to run directly past the streets where I have that little blue icon over there. At this statue, right next to the waterfall, is where you're going to get your first Spirit Ash Blessing. There's actually on your horse, and we're going to run directly past the streets where I have that little blue icon over there. Hop back on your horse, and we're going to run directly past the streets where I have that little blue icon over there. At this statue, right next to the waterfall, is where you're going to get your first Spirit Ash Blessing. There's actually 1 hidden Scadu Tree fragment that you can find here as well. If you go from this location, you kind of go around the edge of where this town is, you can go over here. And I found this completely on accident near where all these steps are. There's actually going to be a group of enemies that spawn in this location. And this one with a pot right here, if you kill it, will actually drop a Scadu tree fragment for you. So make sure to grab that one. There's a lot of dogs and stuff around there as well, but just kill all the enemies around there and pick up your fragment. You can also pick up these Scorched Ruins Site of Grace right here. And then if you head a little bit farther north, you're going to find another Site of Grace. And one of the Michaela's crosses here. At the foot of every Michaela's cross that you find. So anytime you see one of these, you're going to want to approach them because they will have a Scadu tree fragment there. So it's really handy to keep an eye out for these. Now, like I said, we're not going to be fighting any bosses to achieve any of these goals. But if we run this way, we're actually going to be heading east across this bridge all the way over to the castle front gate. And just before you get to the castle front site of Grace, you're going to see another headless statue here for another fragment. Now you can continue through this area and up around this corner right here. You're going to find the Castle Ennis checkpoint, as well as another Michaela's Cross where there will be another fragment. Now you can choose to fight the boss inside of Castle Ennis, which will be a shortcut out to the other side here. But like I said, we don't need to fight any bosses to actually do this. So we're actually going to head back to the site of Grace right here. Now at the site of Grace, we're going to head west through this little mountain with the archways. And at the end of this is going to be another site of Grace, as well as another Michaela's Cross. boss. Now from this Site of Grace,